Hey dudes, back in the basement again today to give you guys a brief update on the EvolveAI app. It's like week 5, which was a deload week for me. So not a ton of information to show or share because it's just basically a scaled back version of what I've been doing. It was the end of the hypertrophy blocks, which is really cool because hypertrophy for me kind of sucks. Doing all that volume, not ideal for a power lifter who likes anything less than 5 reps or so for the most part. So deload week, but I thought I'd take this time to kind of review what the benchmark sets are. I've talked about those a little bit in here. Just want to give you some brief information to my understanding of what they are. Now, Garrett does have a full video where he breaks down a little bit more in depth. However, it's part of a longer video, so I think it's easy to get overlooked. So I'm going to link that video, and it is timestamped so that you can kind of hear his perspective on it. But for me, what the benchmark sets allow you to do are a couple of things. In the long term, what I'm hopeful that they'll be able to do is provide kind of a sense for guidance for your overall programming as it leads into the peak. So setting benchmarks to see where your strength levels are at in a given training session, when we're the strongest, when were they maybe the weakest potentially, or when you were the most fatigued, and it's showing in some of those benchmark sets so that the peak can be as optimal as possible. Now, if you don't know what a benchmark set is, it's basically a top set at a given rep range in RPE. In the hypertrophy blocks, I was doing a top set of 5 at RPE 8. Again, because it is in a hypertrophy block, I wanted to get kind of some more volume in. In the strength blocks, I have some of it set right now to a single at 8. So that's going to be like my top set on certain exercises. You don't want to do this for every exercise, but what that allows you to do is really dial in where you are for that particular day. Case in point, today, which is my first day on the strength block, is I had a top set on squats, and the benchmark, again, was a single at 8. And what that allows me to do is get the best gauge of where my 1 rep max is for that day. So what my strength levels are for that day. So I'm feeling super strong. It's going to reflect that in the back offsets. If I'm not feeling my best, it'll again reflect that in the back offsets, as opposed to me not having a benchmark set in. And I'm going to be showing you some screenshots of what the app looks like. So if I don't have a benchmark set in, it's like a set of 425 for a set of like 5 or 6 at a relatively low RPE for my top set. Well, that can still be beneficial. It's based off of my estimated 1 rep max in the program. The problem is it doesn't do very much for giving you a true estimated 1 rep max for that day. Meaning that even if I hit that top set right on the money, I did 425 for a set of 6 at an RPE 6, that's not a good gauge of estimating a true 1 rep max, where a single at 8 is going to be a lot closer to that. So I get to dial in my back offsets a little bit better. And again, depending on how well you nail that top set, that's going to dictate back offsets. So for example, if you hit your top goal and you rated it at an RPE under 8, it's going to give you heavier back offsets. If you maybe overshot it and hit that single at an RPE 9, 9.5, 10, whatever the case may be, it's going to lower the weights of the back offsets. So again, you get to dial it in accordingly and thus get a better job in the short term in terms of the work you're doing for that day, based off of how you feel. Now, where I've run into some issues on this, I mentioned in my week 4, I think it was, when I actually had a test out day. So it called for max effort sets at RPE 10s. When I had the benchmark set turned on, it still had my normal benchmark, but instead of doing a set of RPE 10, it then had me do like 11 sets of 10 back off for bench, because again, my bench volume on the program is really high based off of my own personal tolerances and what I can handle. So in that instance, I actually had to go in and turn the benchmark set off, and then it gave me my top set of RPE 10 and then 9 back off sets. So it changed the work a little bit. So I think there still has some fine tuning to do. And again, I'd like to see how this plays out in the long term, but short term, there are fun ways to, number one, lift some heavier weight. So like I wouldn't typically have many singles, if any singles, this far out from a competition. But in this case, since the RP is a little bit lower, it lets me do that. It also lets me kind of set the precedent for that day and dial in my back offs a little bit better. Hopefully that helps explain it. But like I said, if not, check out the video from Garrett, as he's much more eloquent in the way that he talks about it and what he has envisioned for benchmark sets in the EvolveAI program. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this series. Leave it a like, check out the other videos if you haven't already. And in the meantime, as always, thanks for watching and stay big.